Chapter 41. Under the Clouds. 3 days after the concessionaires struck their deal with the repairman Mechnikov, the Columbus theater troupe left for Tiflis by train, traveling through Makhachkala and Baku. During those 3 days, the concessionaires, still unsatisfied with the contents of the 2 chairs they opened on Mashuk, waited for Mechnikov to deliver the 3rd and final Columbus chair. But the repairman, worn out from too much Narzan mineral water, spent all 20 rubles on cheap vodka and ended up in such a state that he had to be locked up in the prop room. So much for the sour waters, Ostap declared when he heard the theater had left. That repairman's a real piece of work. Never trust theater people again. Ostap became even more restless than before. Their chances of finding the treasure had skyrocketed. In Tiflis, Ostap said, "We can't afford to be lazy. We need money for the trip to Vladikavkaz. From there, we'll drive to Tiflis along the Georgian military road. Gorgeous views, breathtaking scenery, fresh mountain air, and at the end, 150,000 rubles, not a kopeck less. I say we keep this meeting going." Getting out of Mineralny Vody wasn't so easy. Vorobyaninov turned out to be a hopeless stowaway, and after several failed attempts to sneak onto a train, he had to perform near the flower garden as a former school district trustee. That gig barely paid off 2 rubles for 12 hours of grueling, humiliating work. Still, it was enough for a ticket to Vladikavkaz. Beslan, Ostap, who was riding without a ticket, got thrown off the train. The great schemer chased after the train for nearly 2 miles, shaking his fist at the innocent Ippolit Matveyevich. Eventually, Ostap managed to hop onto the last step of the slow-moving train as it climbed toward the Caucasus Mountains. From there, he gazed with curiosity at the unfolding panorama of the mountain range. It was 4 in the morning. The mountain peaks glowed with a deep pink sunlight. Ostap wasn't impressed. "Too much showing off," he said. "Wild beauty, the imagination of a lunatic, useless." At the Vladikavkaz station, a big open bus from the Transcaucasian Auto Trade Company was waiting for arrivals, and friendly folks were calling out, "Anyone heading down the Georgian military road, free ride into town." "Where to Kisa?" Ostap said. "Let's take the bus. If it's free, why not?" The bus dropped them off at the company office, but Ostap didn't rush to sign up for a car. Chatting animatedly with Ippolit Matveyevich, he admired Table Mountain, ringed with clouds, and deciding it really did look like a table, quickly wandered off. He ended up stuck in Vladikavkaz for several days. All their attempts to scrape together money for the trip down the Georgian military road either failed completely or only brought in enough for a day's worth of food. Trying to charge people a dime to see the Caucasus Ridge didn't work. The mountains were so high and visible from everywhere that no one would pay to look at them. There wasn't much else to see in Vladikavkaz. As for the Terek River, it flowed past the Trek Club, which charged admission without Ostap's help. Ippolit Matveyevich's attempt at panhandling brought in 13 kopecks over 2 days. So Ostap pulled a deck of cards from his travel jacket and set up a 3-card Monte game by the road out of town. Ippolit Matveyevich, well-coached, played the part of the amazed onlooker, marveling at how easy it was to win. Behind them, the mountains and snowy peaks loomed in the clouds. "Red wins, black loses," Ostap shouted. Before a crowd of local mountaineers, Ingush and Ossetians in felt hats, Ostap tossed 3 cards face down, 1 red and 2 black. Anyone could bet on the red card, and if they guessed right, Ostap promised to pay up on the spot. "Red wins, black loses, see it, bet, guess right, take your money." Simple game and easy wins drew the crowd in. The red card was always laid to the right or left, and it was easy to follow. The crowd started betting, and Ostap, for show, lost about 40 kopecks. A horseman in a brown cherkeska, a reddish lambskin hat, and the usual dagger at his sunken belly joined the crowd. "Red wins, black loses," Ostap sang out, sensing a big score. "See it, bet, guess right, take your money." Ostap made a few passes and tossed the cards. "There it is," the horseman shouted, jumping off his horse. "There's the red one, I saw it." "Put your money down, Katsa, if you saw it," Ostap said. "You'll lose," the mountaineer warned. "No worries, if I lose, I'll pay," Ostap replied. 10 rubles, the mountaineer said, pulling a worn wallet from his coat. "There's the red one, I saw it." He lifted the card, it was black. "Another round?" Ostap asked, pocketing the winnings. "Deal." Ostap tossed the cards again. The mountaineer lost another 20 rubles, then 30 more. Determined to win it back, he went all in. Ostap, out of practice and not as sharp as he used to be, slipped up badly this time. "Give me my money," the mountaineer yelled. "What?" Ostap shouted. "Everyone saw, no cheating." "Whether they saw or not, I saw you switch the cards. You put down a black one instead of the red. Give me my money back." Mountaineer stepped up to Ostap. The great schemer took the first blow to the head and fought back hard. Then the whole crowd jumped in. Ippolit Matveyevich ran back to town. The hot-tempered Ingush didn't beat Ostap for long. They cooled off as quickly as the mountain air at night. 10 minutes later, the mountaineer was heading home with his recovered cash. The crowd went back to their business, and Ostap, spitting blood from a split gum, limped off to find Ippolit Matveyevich. That's enough, Ostap said. There's only one way left. We walk to Tiflis. 5 days, 200 versts. No big deal, old man. Beautiful mountain views, fresh air. We just need money for bread and some amateur sausage. You can add a few Italian phrases to your vocabulary if you want, but by tonight you need to collect at least 2 rubles. No lunch today, my friend. Sorry, slim chances. At dawn, the concessionaires crossed the little bridge over the Terek, skirted the barracks, and headed into the Green Valley along the Georgian military road. We're in luck, Kisa, Ostap said. It rained last night, so we won't have to eat dust. Breathe in that fresh air, chief. Sing a song. Recite some Caucasian poetry. Act like you belong. But Ippolit Matveyevich didn't sing or recite poetry. The road climbed steadily. Nights spent sleeping under the open sky left him with a stitch in his side, heavy legs, and the sausage gave him constant, miserable heartburn. He trudged along, leaning to one side, clutching a 5-pound loaf of bread wrapped in a Vladikavkaz newspaper, dragging his left foot a little. Walking again, this time to Tiflis, this time along the most beautiful road in the world. Ippolit Matveyevich didn't care. He didn't look around like Ostap. He barely noticed the Terek, now rumbling at the bottom of the valley. Only the sunlit icy peaks reminded him of something, maybe the sparkle of diamonds, maybe the best satin coffins from Master Bezinchuk. The first post station, Balta, they walked under the shadow of Table Mountain. Its massive, ivory bulk with streaks of snow followed them for 10 versts. First, a car from the auto company passed them. Then, half an hour later, a bus carrying at least 40 tourists and no fewer than 120 suitcases. Say hi to Kazbek, Ostap shouted after the bus. Kiss its left glacier for me. The smell of gasoline and hot rubber lingered in the mountains long after the vehicles had passed. Carts driven by mountaineers rattled by. A phaeton came around the bend toward them. In Balta, Ostap gave Ippolit Matveyevich a tiny piece of sausage and ate twice as much himself. I'm the breadwinner, he said. I need extra rations. After Balta, the road entered a gorge, winding along a narrow ledge carved into dark, sheer cliffs. The road spiraled upward, and by evening the concessionaires reached the Lair station, 1,000 meters above sea level. They spent the night in a poor tavern for free and even got a glass of milk each, charming the owner and his guests with card tricks. Morning was so lovely that even Ippolit Matveyevich, revived by the mountain air, walked with more energy than the day before. Past Lair, the massive wall of the side ridge rose up. The Terek Valley narrowed into tight gorges. The landscape grew gloomier, and the graffiti on the rocks more numerous. Where the cliffs squeezed the Terek so tightly that the bridge spanned only 10 fathoms, the concessionaires saw so many inscriptions on the rocky walls that Ostap, forgetting the grandeur of the Daryl Gorge, shouted over the roar and moans of the Terek. Great people, look, chief, see, just above the clouds and a little below the eagle. It says, Kalya and Mika, July 1914. Unforgettable sight, check out the artistry. Each letter a meter tall, painted in oil. Where are you now, Kalya and Mika? Ippolit Matveyevich grew thoughtful. Where are you, Kalya and Mika? What are you doing now? Grown fat, grown old. Bet you can't even climb to the 4th floor now, let alone up to the clouds to write your names. Do you work now, Kalya? Not going well, huh? Reminiscing about your golden childhood. What was so golden about it? You call scribbling on cliffs a golden childhood. Kalya, you're terrible. And your wife Mika is a nasty woman, though it's less her fault. When you were hanging off the cliff writing your name, Mika stood below on the highway, gazing up at you with loving eyes. She thought you were another Pechorin. Now she knows who you really are, just a fool. Yes, all you beauty chasers are the same. Pechorin, but you can't even balance your checkbook. Kisa, Ostap went on, let's immortalize ourselves too. Let's outdo Mika. I've even got some chalk. I swear I'll climb up right now and write. Kisa and Ozzy were here. Without a second thought, Ostap set down the sausage on the parapet above the raging Terek and started climbing the rock. Ippolit Matveyevich watched the great schemer's ascent for a while, then got distracted and turned to examine the foundation of Queen Tamara's castle, perched on a rock like a horse's tooth. Meanwhile, 2 versts away, Father Fyodor entered the Daryl Gorge from the Tiflis side. He marched with a soldier's stride, eyes fixed straight ahead, leaning on a tall, hooked staff like a biblical high priest. He'd spent his last money getting to Tiflis and was now walking home, living off charity. Crossing the Krestovi Pass 2,345 meters above sea level, he was bitten by an eagle. Father Fyodor swung his staff at the bold bird and kept going. He wandered through the clouds, muttering, not for greed, but by the will of my wife who sent me. He repeated this phrase as he entered the Daryl Gorge. The distance between enemies was shrinking. Rounding a sharp bend, Father Fyodor ran into an old man with gold pince-nez. The gorge seemed to split before Father Fyodor's eyes. The Terek fell silent. Father Fyodor recognized Vorobyaninov. After the disaster in Botomy, after all hope had collapsed, the chance to get rich again hit Father Fyodor like a thunderbolt. He grabbed Ippolit Matveyevich by his scrawny Adam's apple and, squeezing tight, croaked, "Where did you hide the treasure you stole from your murdered mother-in-law?" Ippolit Matveyevich, caught completely off guard, just stared, his eyes bulging behind his glasses. "Speak," Father Fyodor commanded. "Confess, sinner." Vorobyaninov felt himself suffocating. Just then Father Fyodor, already savoring victory, spotted Bender scrambling down the rock. The technical director was coming down, shouting at the top of his lungs. Breaking on the gloomy rocks. The waves boil and foam. A wave of terror hit Father Fyodor. He kept his grip on the chief's throat, but his knees shook. "Ah, and who's this?" Ostap called out cheerfully. "The competition." Father Fyodor didn't hesitate. Acting on pure instinct, he grabbed the sausage and bread and ran. "Get him, Comrade Bender," Ippolit Matveyevich shouted, catching his breath. "Catch him, hold him." Ostap whistled and whooped. "Yoo-hoo," he yelled, taking off after him. "Battle of the Pyramids or Bender on the hunt. Where are you running, client? I can offer you a nicely gutted chair." Father Fyodor, unable to stand the chase, scrambled up a sheer cliff. His heart was in his throat, and his heels itched with a special fear known only to cowards. His legs seemed to fly off the granite, carrying him upward. "Ooh," Ostap shouted from below. "Get him." "He took our food," Ippolit Matveyevich wailed, running up to Ostap. "Stop," Ostap thundered. "I said stop." But that only gave Father Fyodor new strength. He shot up, and in a few leaps was 10 fathoms above the highest inscription. "Give back the sausage," Ostap called. "Give it back, you fool, I'm begging you." Father Fyodor heard nothing. He found himself on a flat ledge no one had ever reached before. A wave of hopeless terror washed over him. There was no way down. The cliff dropped straight to the highway. He looked down. Ostap was raging below, and at the bottom of the gorge the chief's gold pince-nez glinted. "I'll give back the sausage," Father Fyodor shouted. "Just get me down." The Terek roared in reply, and from Tamara's castle came the cries of owls. "Get me down," Father Fyodor wailed. He could see all the concessionaires' maneuvers. They ran around under the cliff, gesturing and, judging by their movements, cursing up a storm. An hour later, lying on his stomach and peering down, Father Fyodor saw Bender and Vorobyaninov heading off toward the crest of the pass. Night fell quickly. In the pitch dark, with the hellish roar of the river below, Father Fyodor trembled and wept under the clouds. He no longer cared about earthly treasures. He wanted only one thing: to get down, back to solid ground. That night he howled so loudly he sometimes drowned out the Terek. In the morning, he ate the sausage and bread and laughed maniacally at the cars passing below. He spent the rest of the day gazing at the mountains and the sun. That night, he saw Queen Tamara. She flew to him from her castle and said playfully, "We'll be neighbors." "Mother," Father Fyodor said with feeling, "not for greed." I know," the queen replied, "but only by the will of your wife." "How do you know?" Father Fyodor asked, surprised. "Oh, I know. Come visit, neighbor. We'll play 66. Sound good?" She laughed and flew off, sending fireworks into the night sky. On the third day, Father Fyodor started preaching to the birds. For some reason, he tried to convert them to Lutheranism. "Birds," he called out in a ringing voice, "repent of your sins in public." On the fourth day, tourists were being shown the spectacle from below. "To the right, Tamara's castle," the guide said, "and to the left, a living man. How he lives and how he got there, nobody knows." "What wild people," the tourists marveled, "children of the mountains." Clouds drifted by, eagles circled over Father Fyodor. The boldest one stole the last of the sausage, and with a flap of its wing, knocked 1.5 pounds of bread into the foaming Terek. Father Fyodor shook his finger at the eagle and, beaming, whispered, "The Lord's little bird knows neither worry nor toil, never fusses over building a lasting nest." The eagle glanced at Father Fyodor, squawked cock-a-doodle-doo, and flew off. "Oh, you rascal, you big scoundrel." 10 days later, a fire brigade arrived from Vladikavkaz with all the proper gear and rescued Father Fyodor. As they lowered him, he clapped his hands and sang in a tuneless voice, "And you will be the queen of the world, my eternal friend." In the stern Caucasus echoed the words of Lermontov and the music of Rubinstein. Not for greed, Father Fyodor told the fire chief, but only. The laughing priest was carted off to a psychiatric hospital in the fire engine.